Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Commodity TV and a new edition of our online interview series. We want to talk today to Keith Bodnarchuk, and he's the CEO of Cosa Resources, and it is uranium, folks. So, welcome. Yeah, Keith, good morning to Canada. How are you?
Yeah, good morning, Jochen. Great to be here. I'm doing very well.
Yeah, thanks for taking the time. Fantastic. You know me, I'm a total uranium bull. I'm a shareholder of the company. I want to disclose that also upfront. I participated in the last private placement. And I must say, very interesting times. I think the investment case for uranium has never been better. That's what I think. But we talk about this in a minute. First of all, COSA. The drills are turning. So that's exactly what we want. So, how's it going?
Yeah, no, very good. You are right. The drills are turning. It's our second ever program at our Ursa project. Just a reminder for the listeners that our Ursa project is located in the Athabasca Basin in Northern Saskatchewan. It's along this Cable Bay shear zone, which we feel is kind of that next potential great uranium corridor. And so we did do initial drill program in March of 2024. We hit some interesting results that looked like a potential alteration halo, which is often found associated with these uranium deposits. And we're looking to go follow that up right away here with the drill. And interestingly enough, too, we did find another area that we're heading to this time. It's so Kodiak would be the one area that we're following up, and Grizzly is another area, and it's
Mhm.
one where it has elevated uranium in the sandstone. It was identified by the previous operator. They followed it up in the early 2000s, and then the price of uranium kind of dried up, and it really just sat dormant for about 20 years. And so it's just been sitting there waiting for somebody to come and finally follow it up. And we will be doing that this summer. So it's our past history through ISO Energy, Denison, and stuff like that. We're always looking for these missed opportunities,
Mhm.
previously unloved areas where people think that, hey, maybe there's not a uranium deposit there. Well, we've proven that wrong multiple times in the past.
Fantastic. Okay, so how many meters are you drilling? How deep are you going under?
Yeah, so it's up to 4,000 meters. So the target area will be in that 900 to 1,000 meter range. This is the deeper part of the basin. But you've seen a lot of groups start to head into these areas. You look at Canalaska, who's obviously had a good amount of success at their West MacArthur project. And, this is where groups are heading to these unloved, really underexplored parts of the basin, because that's where there's a lot of area left to find these tier one size deposits. And so that's what we're doing, right? And so,
Mhm.
you know, that'll be our focus, and we are doing that up to 4,000 meters, really focusing in on those two target areas I talked about.
Okay, and Ursa has a more than 60 kilometer strike length. I mean, that's really a lot, isn't it?
Yeah, that is massive. I mean, for perspective, it's like mapping down from Cigar Lake past MacArthur all the way down to Phoenix and Griffin, Denison's ground. So it is truly a district scale project. And if we are right about it, and if we do have early success with potentially making a discovery, it will be because we're on to a district. So I'd expect there to be multiple deposits along that trend. And so we were fortunate enough with timing. We pieced this project really together at the end of 2022, ahead of this rush. If we were to try to do that again today, we wouldn't be able to. And so it is truly that district scale project, like you said, that does have massive size.
Mhm. Absolutely. So if I look at this massive size and I look into your presentation, you have that many more projects. I mean, you have like 215,000 hectares, if
Yeah.
I'm correct. And I mean, Ursa alone is such a monster. What are you doing with the rest?
Yeah, so I think we've always taken that drill it and kill it approach. Our time at ISO Energy, everybody remembers that it was a quick pathway to discovery, but people
Hmm.
forget it was our seventh project where we ultimately found the Hurricane deposit. And so you
Hmm.
do have to keep that steady pipeline of projects. We'll always go to where our best target is, and we'll rotate through projects as we explore. Right, if it's not showing what we want, we'll move on from that project. And what's happened is over the course of the past couple of years, maybe we've acquired a project at the time, which seemed like a good opportunity. But then we've been able to upgrade that pipeline along the way here, where recent news where we've expanded orbit, or we acquired the Aurora project,
Hmm.
which are stronger projects than some of our other ones. And so I think we're always looking to continue to add projects. And then if there's ones that we aren't going to work ourselves, we'll move on from them and look for an opportunity to divest to another group.
Okay, super. Yeah, that would be also one of my questions. Aurora and Orbit, I found them really interesting because they are
Yeah.
very close to the Key Lake mill. So I think geographic wise, if you are successful there, that could be something which, yeah, could be followed up by some larger companies, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. So it's one that those two projects really provide a counterbalance to Ursa, right? The target depth there might be 100 meters. It is more, I'd say cheaper exploration in that area, and it really provides that counterbalance to Ursa. Like you mentioned, it's only 18 kilometers away from Key Lake Mill. Interestingly enough, it hasn't seen exploration since the 1970s.
Hmm.
That is an edge of the basin where through the 80s and 90s, people didn't think that it was that perspective. But then you saw what happened to groups like 92 Energy that
Hmm.
had a discovery along that edge of the basin. So it's really upgraded, that area and that geology in the Athabasca Basin. And so I think, like I said, groups are heading to these areas that were previously unloved
Hmm.
because people are finding that you can make significant discoveries in some of these areas that previous operators were not in.
Hmm. Okay. What I find also interesting is, I mean, Ursa, the Orion, Astro, Orbit, Aurora. This is all a little bit, let's call it close together, if we can
Yeah,
say that. I mean, for Europeans, that's not really close together,
yeah,
but for you Canadians, it is
yeah,
really close. And then I see Helios
yeah.
on the top north of the Athabasca Basin, far, far, far away. How did you come on that? And I mean, there was a recent staking by Denison Mines also, which captured over 60 kilometers in the western extension of this, what's it called, Grease River
Priest
Shear
River
Zone.
Shear.
So why have you taken that? How did you come on that?
Yeah, so we actually acquired it through staking. It's a cost effective way to acquire land. That area was available. Andy, our VP exploration, and the team identified it. This was ahead of that uranium rush.
Hmm.
So it was available, and it's one, like you said, it does have that Grease River shear zone that comes right through it. It also, along trend to the north, has this Wares uranium occurrence,
Hmm.
and so you kind of have these two trends that are potentially coming together. Um, it's one that isn't a top priority for us, but it is still interesting in that regard, and it's something where we'd probably be looking for a partner on that one if
Hmm.
yeah, to
Okay,
advance.
super. Okay, so how long do you need now to finish those 4,000 meters? What do you think?
Yeah, so we'll be drilling throughout September into October.
Mhm.
That's so there'll be steady news flow throughout there. The team, importantly, really over the past 12 months, we've taken Ursa from really a severely underexplored high upside project to one where like we do have 60 kilometers. We're identified 10 key target areas. We managed to drill one of them in the winter. We already generated a follow-up target immediately. We have this other follow-up target at Grizzly. So we've really upgraded this project over the past 12 months. And importantly, last winter we're able to put in a camp, kind of establish all of our footprint in that area. So it's made it more of a turnkey operation this time. The drill was on site. The guys flew into site and basically just fired up the drill and started drilling. So I think now it's become really more cost effective exploration. We've
Mhm.
established ourselves in there. And so, it should go quickly and smoothly.
Okay, super. So let's move a little bit forward. So this is now, let's call it a summer drill program. What is
Yep.
planned for the winter? When can you start with that? I believe it has to be, yeah, frozen up, right?
Yeah. So it's usually just really between April to June that that
Hmm.
you that you don't tend to explore in the Athabasca Basin, just
Hmm.
just due to the melt, like you mentioned.
Hmm.
So there's a chance you could leave ruts in the ground and stuff. You don't want to do that.
Hmm.
So wintertime is usually end of January through to end of March.
Hmm.
Like you said, it's a good time because all the lakes freeze and everything like that, which allows easier access.
Hmm.
So this is our summer drill program. We are fully funded for it. We're in good shape heading into 2025, and would be able to do another, modest winter program with our current treasury.
Hmm. Super. And have you planned already on the winter program, or is that too early?
It'll be results dependent, right? I
Okay.
think I think when you're an exploration group, you're always have to be a bit agile. I'd say a bit able to move to whatever
Hmm.
project has those best targets because we do have results pending at Orbit and Aurora.
Hmm.
We have an A&T survey we did over top of Ursa and Orion, which might help upgrade some targets there. Then obviously we're drilling If Ursa yields results that we want to see, then we'll head right back there in the winter.
Exactly. So we could say Ursa is really like the key project where the most focus is on, right?
It's the top priority for us right now.
Mhm.
I wouldn't call it a flagship. I'll call it a flagship if we make a discovery. I
Mm.
think we do always maintain that drill it and kill it approach.
Yep.
If it's not showing the results we want, we'll move on to one of our other projects, and that's why we always have that key pipeline. And I mean, really, Steve, our chairman, and Craig. I mean, obviously, you know Craig well. We've always taken that approach, and yet you have to when you're an exploration company. You have to. You cannot get married to one project if it hasn't yielded the results you want. You move on and you
Mm.
bring in something else so you can ultimately make that discovery.
Okay, super. So other question, what are your holding costs on 215,000 hectares? I mean, you have to pay attention that it's not killing you, right?
Yeah, for sure. So when you acquire something through staking, it's 60 cents a hectare to acquire it, and then
Okay,
you have
that's manageable, 16
yeah,
cents.
60 cents, and then you have
60, sorry.
60, yeah, and then you have 2 years to spend up to $15 per hectare to keep it in good standing.
Hmm.
So for reference, Ursa, I believe when we're done this program, it'll be in good standing into the 2030s.
Hmm.
So it is something where we'll have it protected for quite a long time. Some of our
Super.
other projects, they do require a bit of work, probably heading into 2025, but all of our core projects are well protected in for the next few years, and so
Super.
so there's no issue in that regard.
Okay, perfect. So you do not have like heavy holding costs and stuff like this. It's more a matter of
No, and I
how
mean
much
it,
money you spend, and then you are fine. But you want to spend it anyway, right?
and like I said, we don't. I don't think there's a specific amount of hectares that we want to pride ourselves on. If
Mm.
if the holding costs become too much of one, we'll move on from that project because
Mhm.
ultimately we don't want our dollars wasted on just holding land, right? We want it going towards the best drill targets and ultimately drilling those
Mhm.
targets, right? So yeah, it's if it's something where the holding costs become too much on one of the projects we don't want, we'll just move on from it.
Mm. Okay, super. Other question. I mean, you said already money is there, everything is fine, so drills are turning, so we wait for really good results. Hopefully, that would be
Hopefully,
great.
yeah.
But other question. The uranium market itself. Of course, as I said, I'm a uranium bull. I see uranium much, much higher.
Yeah,
If we look back the last, let's say over summer, it was a kind of weird. Uranium prices came down. Some of the stocks came down. I mean, your stock also came down like
yeah,
30, 40%, easy to 50% even. And I mean, I don't care that this is the market. The market is
yeah.
sometimes not correct. But what is your view on the uranium market? Why is the contract price now at 82? The spot price is around the $80. Why we are not moving despite a US ban on Russian uranium, a super large deficit which will persist for the next probably 10 years easily, and nobody cares. What am I missing, or what's your opinion?
Yeah, I don't think you're missing anything, and I think the fact that it hasn't moved just goes to show that the opportunity still exists for this bull market, right? It's usually when everybody figures out and everybody and your uncle and everybody's investing in a
Then it's
commodity in
gone.
uranium, then it's done. But it's just showing that we're at the early days of what's going to be a
Yeah,
long term uranium bull market here, and
yeah.
I think each bull market shows itself differently. And this one's showing us where you have the price of uranium really moving up and the equities, almost going down over the summer. And so to me, it just presents an opportunity. The fundamentals are as strong as they've ever been. Um, Simply put, what usually happens in a supply and demand, obviously where you go through a recession, then the demand increases, the supply will take a while to catch up in uranium. I think what nobody accounted for is that we'd enter with that supply issue, but into unprecedented demand
Mm,
where you have small modular reactors, you have all these
mhm,
countries building nuclear reactors, switching to nuclear. The sentiment has switched to nuclear,
mm.
yet the
Or
supply has
restarting.
just, yeah, starting to. And yet the supply has been in disarray for 15, 20 years, right?
Mhm,
And so it's created this perfect storm where there isn't an incentive price that can cause the supply to come online because the supply is not ready. It's not there.
mhm,
And so, as far as what the uranium price is going to do when it finally takes off, it's very hard to predict, but it's going to go up. That's for
mm.
sure.
Yeah, correct. And I read, I think it was last week, that if you want to build a new uranium mine, let's say a large one, not a super large, but a
Yeah,
large one, which makes sense, it is 17.6 years now.
17.6.
Yeah, that's what I read. I was like, okay, 17.6. Yeah, I'm very long already in pension, and we need the uranium the next 2 years, 3 years already. So how will we do that? Right?
Yeah, I think the reality is that governments have to really get together
Mm,
with the industry if we're going to actually solve this problem,
yeah,
as far as getting projects developed faster. I think there is a blueprint that has existed in Saskatchewan for years and years. Saskatchewan is a place where obviously there's the best uranium projects in the world
yeah,
geologically, but also it's a jurisdiction that embraces uranium mining. It's part of the culture,
yeah.
and so I think hopefully we have a government there that's very pro nuclear
Mhm.
power, and hopefully we can start coming up with a quicker pathway, I'd say, to get into production because Canada and Saskatchewan specifically is going to play a massive role in this
Yeah,
uranium boom.
yeah. As you know, Saskatchewan has also a nice nickname. It's the Saudi Arabia of uranium.
Yeah,
Yeah, it is absolutely. Yeah, super. Keith, so I think the perspective is extremely good. Your drills are turning, so
yeah,
hopefully the next 6 weeks we will see the first results here and good results. And I must say, you are in the Saudi Arabia of uranium. You are in the heart of the Athabasca Basin. You have that many hectares all together in very good projects, and I would say it's a fantastic opportunity.
yeah. No, agreed. I encourage everybody to watch for news flow. Exciting times ahead. We have terrific targets at Ursa very early on in the project's lifespan. So exciting days ahead for COSA.
Super. Keith, thank you very much. Look forward to the next update when you have all the drill results, etc. Let's have a chat again.
Perfect. Thanks, Jochen.
Super. Thank you very much. Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Keith Bodnarchuk, the CEO of Cosa Resources. And you heard it. They have the money. The drills are turning. They are in the Athabasca Basin. They have 215,000 hectares. That's exactly what you want when you want to go into uranium exploration. So the company is led by a top-notch team, super team behind it, next-gen ISO energy, and much, much more. And I must say, the projects look really, really interesting here. And as I said, I'm a shareholder too. You maybe should have a very close look onto Cosa Resources. So thanks for watching us, and bye bye from Switzerland.